Okay, let's call the meeting to order. And the first order of business is to approve the agenda. There would be only one change to the agenda, and that is to add to commission business the what was MacArthur Wine and Spirits ABCA license, and now we believe it is Exotic Wine and Spirits. And to discuss that and take some action. That's the only change that I know of. Have any others? Okay, let's all in favor of that agenda? Aye.
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 Okay. I think we
And
have.
Mr. Chairman, Officer McAwee is indeed here.
Very good. So, Officer McAwee, we are ready for you.
Oh,
Good
there's your
evening.
camera.
I had my camera lens closed. Good evening, everyone. Thank you again for having us here. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Officer Anthony McAwee. I am your traffic officer here at the 2nd District, and I also attend all your community meetings. And with that said, I'm going to present our 30-day crime report for the PSA 205. We had a total of 9 offenses the last 30 days, which is good. We like to see it to be down to 0, but it is a lot less than a month before where we had 16. We had 1 burglary, 1 stolen motor vehicle, 4 theft from autos, and 3 general thefts. I'm going to start off with the burglary. The burglary occurred in an apartment complex along MacArthur Boulevard, 5464 MacArthur Boulevard. One of the tenants reported that an unknown subject kicked in the door and committed a burglary by stealing out of all things, a surveillance camera, and fled the scene. This occurred between 10 and 11:30 p.m. on June 3rd. The stolen auto occurred on June 7th from the 5200 block of MacArthur Boulevard. We discovered this from when members from the 4th District responded to a vehicle accident within the 500 block of 8th Street Northwest. Upon their arrival, they located an unoccupied 2017 Subaru Impreza that was involved in the accident. Members of the 2nd District were notified by the 4th District to respond to the homeowner's house at 5200 block of MacArthur Boulevard, where we spoke with the owner. The owner stated that he did not know that the vehicle was stolen, and it was last parked in front of his home, and it's believed that he accidentally left the keys in the vehicle. I'm going to move on to the theft from automobiles. We had 4 theft from automobiles last month, which is also down from the month before. I'm going to go over the locations just in case any of your listeners or residents are monitoring and keep their eyes open for suspicious persons or vehicles. Locations: 4800 Upton Street on June 17th was an overnight where a vehicle's rear window was smashed to gain entry. 4500 block of Dexter Street, May 13th, between May 13th and June 13th. This vehicle was unlocked. 5200 block of Sherrier Place, June 1st and between June 7th. Again, a rear window was broken out to gain entry. 4100 block of Mass Avenue on June 2nd. The vehicle was parked in the garage area in the 4100 block of Massachusetts Avenue, had its window smashed out. The common things that we're seeing removed from these vehicles in all the cases were tools, wallets, and backpacks left in plain view. Again, as I say at every meeting, please just remind residents and visitors and to remove all items from the plain view of their vehicles and lock and alarm their vehicles. Also, if you have contractors working at your home, we ask you that you ask the contractors to move or park their vehicles very close or within close proximity to the home that they're working. Especially those the contractors have identifiers that they're contractors, because some of these contractors are getting hit and they see these vehicles parked out there, and they go in there for the tools. We had 3 general thefts. 2 of them, one was at the CVS, a retail theft, and the other one was at the Palisades Deli. Update on the robbery that we talked about last month that occurred at May 12th at Elliott Place and MacArthur Boulevard. I spoke with Detective Sharpton. He's the lead detective. The last time I spoke to you, they were applying for a custody order. That custody order has been approved, and they now are moving on for a warrant for the individual that committed the robbery with the gun. It shouldn't be much longer. We'll have that individual in custody. He's a juvenile. That's what custody orders mean, and he's a juvenile. So as soon as I get updates on that, I will pass it out. I'll put it on the listserv. Let me make sure. Just a reminder to everyone out there, if you're going on vacation and you would like me to check on your home, I'm going to put my email in your chat box. Just fire me an email, address, emergency contact numbers. Also, if you're going away, you know a neighbor that you can trust, let them know you're going away so they can keep an eye on your home too. With that said, as far as traffic, last month in the 2nd District, we wrote 237 traffic tickets. Most of them were for stop sign and red light and cell phones. I did concentrate on MacArthur Boulevard. Also, I had a complaint from, I don't know if Rebecca's out there, Rebecca Kim. I'm monitoring the situation at Reservoir and Hoban for the vehicles that go the wrong way there. I was out there a couple of times. I did not see any. Doesn't mean it's not occurring. I will give that special attention and let you know if we get anything. No serious accidents occurred. And with that said, I'll take some questions, concerns, complaints.
Commissioner Simkowitz?
Good afternoon, Officer McAwee. With regard to the Palisades Deli, I saw the video of this flash mob that hit that. It looked as if there were some faces that were easily identifiable. Do you know why there haven't been any arrests in that case yet?
I'll have to look into that, Commissioner. I know there was a police report taken. The detectives have to review the videos, and I'll reach out to the lead detective on that, and I'll give you an email. I'll send you an email on that. I'll look into that.
Thank you. Do you know if the school was ever
Thanks for bringing that to our attention.
when these incidents happen?
They are, and in fact, I just checked my emails, and I received an email just minutes before I zoomed in from the principal McCrae over there. I haven't looked at it yet. There's some videos, so I'm going to open that up as soon as I close out here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If I don't see any questions, I'd like to take the opportunity. Our new commander, Christopher Dorsey's out there. I see him out there. I'd like to have the privilege to introduce him.
If it's okay with the commander, I'd like to spotlight him also, so we can say hi.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. My name is Commander Christopher Dorsey. Really appreciate Officer McAwee. Great officer. Really gives special attention to a lot of the areas of concern. A little bit about myself. I've been with MPD about 20 years, various different districts. Thus far, the 2nd District, I came in May. I've been extremely impressed by both the officers as well as the citizens, extremely engaged. One of the things I'm really big on is really community partnerships, really work hand in hand with the community on have officers out engaged, doing exactly what we're doing right here, exchange information, and giving them helpful hints, and then kind of talking to you guys, see kind of feedback from you, because obviously we're out there, but you guys are living there a lot of times, so you might see things we're not aware of. So it's really important for these forums to bring things to our agenda so we can focus on different information. What Officer McAwee said is really good. Like you said, we always say, hey, keep things out of your plain view in the vehicles. Extremely important. One thing I would also say, and recently, not just for PSA 205, just generally speaking, 2D and overall period, we noticed a little bit people leaving their cars, like the keys in their cars. And like you said, people just take the opportunity to jump in their car and take it. So I really remind everyone, don't let the car run in. Even if you're running in real quick, take your car with it, lock it up. I would even go so far as encourage people to get air tags, hide it somewhere in your vehicle. And that would be very helpful. So if in an event it does take, if someone's taken, you can kind of circle back and try to track it down fairly quickly. But I really appreciate you get an opportunity to, present myself. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys out there. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Commissioner Duncan?
Hi, yes, Commander, welcome. Are you going to be at the Palisades 4th of July parade by any chance?
I will be. That's the plan.
Okay, I will be at the start, so I will see you there and I will introduce myself in person.
Perfect. I look forward to seeing you.
Great. Are there any other questions for Commander Dorsey or Officer McElwee? Seeing none, let's move on.
Thank you
Thank you.
all.
Have a great July 4th. We'll see you at the parade.
From our MOCR, Mr. Cox.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Willie Moan Cox. I'm the Ward 3 liaison for the Mayor's Office for Community Relations and Services. No announcements except for the Palisades 4th of July parade coming up on Saturday. We'll be gathering at 10 a.m. Starting at 11. Hope to see everyone there. In the chat, I'm going to be dropping a link which will, if you're interested, you can register to walk with the mayor. So if anyone's interested, just follow the link that I just posted, and please register. We'd love to see you out there. Also remember to drink plenty of water because it's very hot. So just stay cool as best you can. And that's it for me, unless there's any questions. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Cox? Seeing none, let's move to Councilmember Fruman's office. Nora Charles.
She is here. Nora
Can you hear
Charles?
me? Yeah, can you not hear me?
We can hear you now. Thank you.
Oh, okay, I've been talking, but I muted myself, I guess, somehow. Hi, everybody. So our biggest announcements have to do with the budget. We passed the budget June 23rd in council, and Councilmember Fruman's very proud of this package and the collaborative process that shaped it this year. So, as the council member said last week in his newsletter and in media appearances, the district faced a challenging fiscal environment this year, and the council's primary goal was to achieve a soft landing, meaning they focus on reducing spending without sacrificing essential services. At the June 23rd meeting, the council took significant action on several key issues, including voting to fund the implementation of semi-open primaries. So funding to ensure our Ward 3 schools are staffed and prepared this fall, and that our Ward 3 commercial corridors remain clean, accessible, and vibrant for everyone. As chair of CHS, or the Committee of Human Services, Councilmember Fruman worked hard to ensure no residents left behind, including funding for housing services, maintaining our libraries, and more. To fund these priorities, the council identified administrative efficiencies, aligned tax abatements for downtown, building convergence with actual demand, and made strategic operational shifts to save on overhead. The council member really wants to thank everyone who emailed, called, met with our office over the last several months. Your input directly shaped this budget. We look forward to continuing to work with you. I will put more information in the chat, but it's all on his newsletter and on the website, mattfreemanward3.com/newsroom. And that's it from us.
Very good.
But we'll see you at the parade as well.
Any questions? All right, seeing no questions, let's move to universities. I don't see anyone from American. Am I wrong about that? So I'll go to George Washington, Kevin Days.
Good evening, commissioners. I do not have much of an announcement. I'm just going to join the parade and say we hope to see you all on July 4th at the Palisades Parade. The president and a contingent of GW members will be marching in the parade, and we hope to see you all there. That's it.
Great. Any questions? Seeing none, let's move to Georgetown. Mr. Peterson?
Hi, good evening. No updates from Georgetown this month.
All right. Any questions for Georgetown? Okay, let's move to, I don't think there's any other universities on, so I think we go to Commissioner updates. Commissioner Elkins?
I don't have anything, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Commissioner Duncan?
I would like to reiterate about the 4th of July parade. Anyone can join. Lineup starts at 10 a.m. The parade starts sharply at 11. I am once again the start marshal. There's a big picnic at the Palisades Park afterwards, so hopefully we'll see a lot of people there. And I would also like to announce our next transportation committee meeting, which is going to be on Tuesday, July 21st from 2 to 3:30 p.m. That ends my update.
Very good. Commissioner Cologne Roosevelt will be on in about 45 minutes. He's on a flight right now. Commissioner Blumenthal?
Yes, just one. I'll keep it brief and put some of the details into the chat. But at our last meeting, I gave an update about the numerous paving projects that were planned and underway in ANC3D. There were half a dozen or so. There was a flurry of activity during June. There are another half a dozen planned for 2026. I had one email from a constituent who was concerned about one of these happening when they would be out of away for vacation. I'm assuming that person is not alone. As of today, there's nothing planned other than the ongoing construction on Reservoir Road for ANC3D for the next 2 weeks. There's an ANC website where you can see what's planned for the next 2 weeks. I will post that in the chat. That is all.
Very good. For my report, I complained to 311 about a couple of different things in the last couple of weeks. One, which they did a great job on some walk signals, but there's this sinkhole that's next to Addie Basson on 48th Place. And, I reported it, and they put they put a marker there. But my complaint is that 301 said that it was completed. And, the only thing that was completed was that they know it's there. And so I'm just saying, at some point, we need to figure out a way to recommend that 311 change. When average people contact 311 and they find out, something's completed and it isn't, it's got to be very disappointing for them. And we should figure out what we ought to recommend. Commissioner Nowak?
I have had similar experiences with 311 closing calls out when they clearly were not completed. And when I called in follow-up to complain that said action hadn't been completed, the response was from 311 that they had made the referral. And so from the call center's perspective, their job was done. And so I join you in saying that this is not sufficient, that there needs to be some sort of an additional status code that would perhaps allow 311 to indicate that they have made the referral, but that it's now pending with an agency for future action, because clearly closing it does not tell the full story.
Mr. Chairman, it looks like Mr. Cox from the mayor's office has his hand raised.
Yes, Mr. Cox.
Hi, everyone. So I understand the frustration with 311 saying things are closed when things are finished when things haven't been finished. This is something that my office has brought to the Office of Unified Communications, which controls 311 or oversees 311. The way the Cliffs Notes version that I got from OUC is that the way that the system is designed and the way that they've had their the contractor who designed this is mainly for the entire 311 system is that yes, when they assign the task to the relevant crew to take care of, like the DDOT crew, when if there's a pothole, for example, then it will say completed. But it doesn't mean that they've dismissed it or they're saying that they did the work when they haven't. It's solely that it's been assigned out to the proper crew. But I'll be happy to reiterate the feedback to OUC that there's a frustration. I think it's something about how the contractor that they used, the old contractor that they used, maybe isn't around anymore. But I can see if I can get some more detail, and I'll be happy to get back to you, and also let them know that there's continuing frustration of the, completed status when it's only just been assigned, and that they should change it to something like assigned or something
assigned
like
for completion.
Right.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Nowak?
I do not have any updates this month.
Commissioner Simkowitz?
I don't have any updates, but I'd like to thank Tricia Duncan and her friend Maria for having the Palisades Parade and picnic. It's always fun to go to, and I hope everybody can go.
Thank you, Commissioner Simkowitz. I would like to say that it takes like 50 volunteers to put this on, and we raise a lot of money. So it's a group effort, but I appreciate that. I would also like to tell Chairman Horn, I think that sinkhole we should put on the agenda for the Transportation Committee since it's in the roadway. And sometimes we have a different in with DDOT that way.
That would be great. It's narrow, but it's very deep.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's move to community issues and concerns. If you'd like to raise an issue that's not on the agenda, this would be the time to do that. But the next thing on the agenda is the discussion for St. Patrick's Middle School and sports fields. Is there anyone that has a discussion that's not on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, why don't we move to the discussion of St. Patrick's Middle School and sports field. Commissioner Nowak, did you want to lead this off?
Sure, I'll just introduce the members of the St. Patrick's team that are here today and presenting. I see Jaylene Spain-Thomas, head of St. Patrick's Day School. I see Sherry Rutherford, who is working with them. And Sherry and Jaylene, I'll let you introduce the rest of your team that you would like to, and that will be presenting tonight.
Well, good evening, and we'll have everyone introduce themselves as we go through. We shared some slides in advance that we would love to have.
Yeah, if someone could allow me to share my screen, I can bring them up.
You should be good.
I'm good.
Okay,
Great.
so they're almost up. They're coming. They really want to. Okay, here we go. So good evening. I am Jaylene Spain-Thomas, proud head of St. Patrick's Episcopal Day School. We are pleased to present this very important project to ANC3D tonight. And if we go to the next slide, you will see our agenda. I will provide a project overview, and then our wider team will discuss the zoning relief detailed in our application, as well as our approach to construction management and managing transportation impacts. While our primary focus is on our permanent middle school, we will also address considerations regarding the future use of our Foxhall Field, as we know that topic is of particular interest to the neighbors and the commission. We'll close with an overview of the review and approval process, and then, of course, we'll be available to answer any questions. Next slide, please. As we have shared with our day school community and neighbors over the past several months, this is an incredibly exciting time for St. Patrick's as we seek to build a permanent middle school building on Whitehaven Parkway. The decision to relocate the middle school to Whitehaven is the outcome of a long-range facilities planning effort that brings us closer to a vision we have been working toward for several years. bringing the full life of St. Patrick's together on one unified academic campus from early childhood through grade 8. At its heart, this project is about students and about the future of St. Patrick's. It also reinforces our commitment to be good neighbors and active contributors to the vibrancy of the neighborhood of which we are a part. Bringing the middle school to Whitehaven Parkway strengthens an already excellent program while deepening the connections that make our school community special. Shared campus spaces like our fields, art departments, and outdoor learning areas will become even more integrated into the daily life of middle school students. This plan allows us to thoughtfully utilize, land just steps away from our existing academic buildings, making more efficient use of our resources and streamlining our operations. As part of our long-range planning considerations, and in response to feedback we've received from several members of our school community and neighbors alike, we have also carefully considered near and long-term goals for the future use of our Foxhall Field. Understanding the perspectives of all neighborhood stakeholders, including those neighbors most directly impacted by the use of the field, will be of central importance as we carefully consider seeking any changes to activities that take place there currently. Moments like this are special in the life of a school and are important to the broader community as well. We are committed to being active collaborators with our neighbors and district agencies as we continue to advance through the planning, review, and approval process. We look forward to this opportunity to continue to work closely together. Finally, a project like this requires experienced partners. Our team includes architects, project managers, zoning council, and our traffic consultants. So again, we are committed to a collaborative planning process, and I'm going to pass the slides and the Zoom mic over to Paul Tummins, our zoning attorney. Thank you, Paul.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jamie. So you have up on the screen here the description of the zoning relief we've requested. Our satisfaction of these various zoning special exception and variance relief requests were addressed in detail in our May 11th statement that was filed with the BZA and copied to the ANC. In addition to this zoning relief, which is necessary to construct the new middle school at 4707 Whitehaven Parkway, as Jaylene mentioned, we're proposing to revise certain conditions regarding the use of Foxhall Field to maintain continuity of operations while construction of the middle school is occurring. Later on in our presentation, Rebecca Kim will address those issues and how we want to proceed with this application. Next slide, please. Just to remind people, I'm sure everyone's very familiar with the Whitehaven campus of St. Patrick's and where we're talking about. So here on the north side of Whitehaven Parkway, we have what we're calling the middle school field property, which is adjacent to the existing gym. On the south side, we have the existing lower school and infant and toddler center. And then to the right of the screen here, we have what is the Foxhall Field location. Before I go and review the plans a little bit, I would note that on the middle school property, the property on the north side of Whitehaven Parkway, there are certain significant impediments to our ability to obtain, design this building in a way that meets the strict requirements of the zoning regulations. And these are important when we talk about how we've satisfied the variance relief standards. Three things I would note here are: one, as you can see, our building in yellow, we have those circles behind the building in yellow are heritage trees. A series of heritage trees that we are not going to touch, we are not going to move. So that really impacts the site location of this building. The flattest part of this site, which is reflected by the rectangular box, if Sherry could show that up there, that's the existing playing field. That is roughly 46 feet above the Whitehaven Parkway of elevation. So what we have here is we have a topographically challenged site that requires us to put this building in the location we've shown here in yellow. And then finally, the last component that impacts our ability to design and construct this building are the geotechnical conditions. It's lots of rock. And so our ability to kind of tuck this building as much as we can into the site without having to do significant blasting has also dictated the relief that we're requesting. Next slide, please. So here's the building. This is, as you said, 4707 Whitehaven Parkway. It's immediately across the street from the existing lower school infant and toddler center. The east wing, or the right-hand side of the building, that will include the multi-purpose space, double height space, and music rooms. We then have the west wing, the side of the building to the left, which will include 3 levels of classroom space. And then finally in the middle, the hyphen, if you will, to this building will be our community connector space. That will include library, community kind of meeting areas for both the St. Patrick's Church and school community. Finally, from an architectural standpoint, the pitched roofs, while they support the acoustics that we are looking to achieve with the multi-purpose spaces, the music spaces, they'll also be able to hide and mitigate any noise impacts from mechanical equipment we have up on the roof level. And finally, we believe that it provides a nice cohesive architectural context to the St. Patrick's Church and the lower school across Whitehaven Parkway. Next slide, please. Construction management. In our May 11th application materials, we included a construction management plan. And so that can be found at Exhibit 17 of the record. But what I wanted to highlight here is really 2 issues that are included in this construction management plan. First, there will be a dedicated construction liaison person who will be available throughout the project to answer any questions, provide updates, and if there are any issues, that is the person that someone in the community can contact to get those issues resolved as expeditiously as possible. And then the second element is the last bullet point, is because we do have that flatter space I mentioned before, which is the existing playing field, we're going to use that during construction for construction staging and constructing contractor parking. So that we believe that we're going to be able to address all parking-related impacts during construction, either on that back field or in the turnaround area on the Foxhall field. Most importantly, contractors, and we'll put this in all agreements with the general contractor, and he will put that down to any subcontractors, all contractors will be prohibited from parking on neighborhood streets. With that, the next slide, I will pass it over to our traffic engineer for this project, Jamie Milanovich.
Great, thanks, Paul. So the slide before you shows our proposed operations on Whitehaven Parkway. I want to flag just a couple of important changes. The first is that we are proposing to add a middle school pickup drop-off lane on the north side of Whitehaven Parkway in front of the new middle school. You can see it there in orange. We are also proposing to allow lower school parents who will be using the existing lower school pickup drop-off on the south side of Whitehaven to approach from the west, in other words, from MacArthur Boulevard. Currently, there is a stipulation that requires all lower school parents to enter via Foxhall Road. So we're going to hopefully lift that restriction, allow parents to approach from MacArthur. And we've done a lot of analysis, including extensive data collection, traffic counts at both the lower school and the existing middle school. We've modeled the queues, both existing and proposed conditions along Whitehaven Parkway. We're confident that those queues can be accommodated on Whitehaven Parkway without spilling onto Foxhall Road and without spilling onto MacArthur Boulevard. And the reason that we can accommodate those queues are a couple of things. One, the creation of that second pickup drop-off zone, the provision to allow parents to enter from the west, from MacArthur, so not everybody is coming through Foxhall, and also the school's commitment to a transportation demand management plan where they will commit to reducing trips by 20% through various strategies to incentivize parents and faculty and staff to use non-auto modes of transportation. This plan has been shared with both of our neighbors to the west, Our Lady of Victory School, as well as the Lab School. St. Patrick's has met with both of them, reviewed this plan, shared this plan with them. They're both very supportive of both the middle school project as well as the proposed operations plan on Whitehaven Parkway. I also would note St. Patrick's does have a history of working with those schools. So for example, with Lab School, there have been a number of times where there's been early dismissal, either because of snow or weather events. Most recently, the Friday before Memorial Day, both schools were looking to dismiss early. And so St. Patrick's coordinated with Lab School to make sure that the traffic operations were functioning the way they're supposed to. So for example, they will coordinate on dismissal times on those half days to make sure they're not dismissing at the same time. I think most recently before Memorial Day, the buses for Lab School were actually able to stage over at the Foxhall Field until such time that Lab School dismissed to keep them out of the flow of traffic when St. Patrick's was having their dismissal. So looking to continue that relationship, obviously continuing to coordinate as the new school comes online and make sure that everybody's comfortable with the proposed operations. But as I said, we've reviewed this with them and OLV, and they've voiced no concerns, are very supportive of the project. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rebecca Kim from St. Pat's.
Thanks, Jamie. So I wanted to spend just a minute to touch upon the status of where we are as it relates to the Foxhall Fields. We are currently working closely with the parties to our current operations agreement to create terms for interim operations to occur during the construction period of our middle school, focusing on St. Patrick's ability to maintain continuity of operations. As Paul mentioned, the field behind our gym on Whitehaven will be used for construction, staging, and parking, so we will need to relocate many activities during this time. While this agreement is still under discussion, I could share the types of activities that we are hoping to relocate, which include various after-school programs for St. Patrick's students, youth sports activities, and parts of our summer camp program where we currently partner with Headfirst and Horizons. These interim terms will be filed as an amendment to our application by August 31st. Following this, and over the course of the construction period, it is our intention to continue to work with our neighbors and ANC3D to solidify terms for the long-term expanded operations of the Foxhall Field. We believe this approach will ensure positive relations with all of our neighbors during construction, while also maintaining St. Patrick's current operations, will enable a period of adjustment to ensure smooth operations at the field, and ultimately yield the best possible outcome for the long-term operations. Next slide, please. I also wanted to highlight some of the topics that have been raised during some of our community meetings and discussions, letting you all hear that we are listening, tracking, and responding to the topics that have been raised. Many of these that you see listed here will be addressed further and in greater detail when we go back to the Transportation Committee in a few weeks. Others like construction, we touched upon a bit today. They will also be covered more in detail at the Transportation Committee meeting. And lastly, Jamie mentioned this, but coordination with institutional neighbors. We are working very closely with Lab, OLV, and GW. Is happy to see Kevin Days on this call. And we look forward to further documenting and providing their either verbal or written support to you all as part of this project. Next.
Great. Thank you, Rebecca. And so I'll just kind of wrap this up. I know we've been trying to be very cognizant of the timing. Big soccer game at 8 o'clock. As Rebecca mentioned, we're going to finalize this interim agreement, and maybe I'll take us back. All of this leads to our BZA public hearing, which we haven't mentioned yet, September 30th. So we're very happy that the BZA is back in session. September 30th will be our hearing date. So these dates are tracking from that September 30th date. We're going to finalize the interim agreement in June, July. As we've mentioned, we're going to be back before the Transportation Committee on July 21st. St. Patrick's is also going to continue with its quarterly meeting process. And that date will still TBD in August, but that'll occur in August. We'll give updates too as to where we are with all these BZA materials. Jamie and her team will submit the CTR, the Comprehensive Transportation Review analysis to DDOT, BZA, and the ANC3D on August 15th. Rebecca mentioned all BZA applications have your final pre-hearing submission can be filed 30 days in advance of your public hearing. So by August 31st, our goal is to file any additional materials that the ANC would like to see. And in addition, we will include that interim agreement with the BZA. We're expecting the ANC will take formal action on September 2nd. We'll have our hearing on September 30th, but then following September 30th, as we are under construction, but prior to the completion of the construction of the middle school building, and following engagement with ANC3D and neighborhood stakeholders, we plan to submit a new BZA application, which would have the final agreement that would address the kind of final agreement regarding use of the Foxhall Field, and then that would be the application to modify the conditions that currently exist in BZA application number 17429 regarding Foxhall Field. So with that, I thank you for your indulgence on letting us go in a little over our 10-minute time, and we're here to answer any questions that you may have.
Who has questions? Commissioner Elkins?
One of the amendments, or a major focus of the 2028 BZA meeting, I think, will be on the expanded use of the field by other schools. And it seems to me that the discussions leading up to that decision would be enhanced by having some experience by the neighborhood and by the school about how the school could handle particularly the traffic impacts of having other schools use the field. And so I wanted just to put on the table the idea of amending or fixing the temporary agreement that would allow St. Patrick's to have a few experiments, at least, of other schools participating at the field in order for the school to work through with the neighborhood and with the school, or the visiting school, how it would control the impacts of any such use of the field by other schools, so that by the time we get to 2028, the neighborhood and the ANC and the school, and the visiting schools for that matter, would have had experience which could guide the decision making in 2028. I think otherwise what we're doing is coming up to 2028 with only the experience of the schools using the Foxhall Field in a more intense way. I don't think that really, if I understand it, that doesn't really address some of the concerns that would flow from having other schools use the field. So that's an idea that I wanted to put forth on the table while you're thinking about this temporary approach.
Just saying, Chuck, we want to thank you for that suggestion. We think it's a sound one that we will take under advisement. We appreciate your forward thinking and forward looking on that. And as I learned in graduate school, call it a pilot and see what unfolds.
Commissioner Duncan?
So I actually have a couple of questions. So regarding this interim agreement, who is that agreement between?
This would be an interim, a temporary modification of our existing agreement.
So it's between St. Patrick's and obviously not the ANC.
It's the agreement between with us between Colony Hill and 1801.
But I would add that then that would be an agreement that would go before the BZA.
Correct.
And so then it would become part of the BZA order for this application to allow that use. So the ANC will get to weigh in on that agreement and get to weigh in on that as part of your reviewing this application and your resolution to the BZA.
Absolutely understood. I would also like to inform the commissioners that the Transportation Committee, in regards to the pickup and drop off and the impacts to potential impacts to Foxhall and MacArthur with backups, we have submitted a number of questions. So the Transportation Committee is working very hard on making sure that that works, because I think I can sort of say that we're mostly concerned with the backups onto Foxhall and MacArthur because of the pickup and drop off. I did want to ask one question about the enrollment. It's my understanding that at max enrollment, I think the cap is 555. You are saying that the cap for staff would be 140 staff members. And if I recall correctly, there's 91 spaces on the site. So I just want to reiterate in front of my colleagues here that we are going to be asking for this mitigation plan
For
of like
parking
the long,
spaces, specifically around parking spaces.
yes, specifically around parking spaces. And then I had a question, the infant and toddler program, are those included in the lower school numbers that we saw?
Yes. So, sorry.
Okay.
So in the 555 includes the infant toddler center. And yes.
So what about for the current enrollment? I think it's 485 total. Does that include infant and toddlers now? I think
I'll
it's 385 for lower
I think we
school.
showed we've used FY 25 enrollment numbers for the transportation study, which it was a total of 505, I believe. Jane, correct me if I'm wrong. And that included the infant toddler center.
But the current enrollment numbers, did they include the infant and toddler numbers in that?
For FY 26, 490-ish would include the infant toddler center. Yes.
Okay, I may go back to that with the Transportation Committee. I'm done for now, but I'm sure I have more. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Commissioner Simkowitz.
Thank you. Could someone share this private agreement with us from 2006?
Absolutely. We are still talking to St. Pat's, right? Yes, we can
Yeah.
make that available. Absolutely.
I have a philosophical problem with these private agreements because we represent the people. We're elected by the people, and we are the people. A private agreement has been problematic in numerous cases in the past. So I'd urge you to consider making an agreement with us that we include in the final order, because I only see problems with these private agreements that happen all the time. And this isn't just a St. Patrick's thing. This is on 10 cases that we've had in my 8 years on the commission.
Commissioner Elkins?
If I could just follow up on that, is another alternative not to have an agreement with anyone, but simply have it part of your application to the BZA, which is binding on you. Obviously, you negotiated with the community, particularly the close neighbors, but it removes this problem that I think my fellow commissioner just raised. I'm not sure we need to have necessarily an agreement with ANC. We just need the BCA order to have the provisions.
Nick Keenan?
Thank you, Commissioner Horn. So a minute ago, you showed the list of issues that have come up in community meetings, and I was a little concerned that that list did not include use of the athletic field, because at the Transportation Committee meeting, we had an extended discussion about the use of the field. And to follow what Commissioner Simkowitz was saying, one of the things that was, I thought, made clear in that discussion was that an agreement just with the neighboring associations was not acceptable, that it had to be something that went before the whole ANC. And, I know we're pressed for time, so I'm not going to rehash that whole discussion, but I can explain further if you like.
Okay. Commissioner Duncan?
I would like to echo Commissioner Simkowitz and Mr. Keenan's worry about these agreements. I also am not thrilled of the idea of waiting for the expansion of this field use after the school is open, because I don't see anything changing. I'd rather make those changes and open up the use of that field to other groups to use it now, while this application is going through. I don't like the idea of going back in 2028.
Commissioner Simkowitz?
I'd like to echo what Commissioner Duncan and Mr. Keenan said. I got involved in this in 2020 when the pandemic hit. The French embassy called me up and asked me if I could facilitate the use of the field for their embassy staff to play soccer. I was told by St. Patrick's that there was an agreement out there that prohibited that. So I've been working with Mr. Keenan and now with Commissioner Duncan and Commissioner Nowak to open up the field to what used to be called Stoddard Soccer and various community groups. And we have one more group that's been added to this equation, that is MacArthur High School. We want to ensure that that field is utilized as much as we can for both St. Patrick's, which is the primary owner of the field, but also when they're not using it for other community groups, as long as it doesn't adversely impact the surrounding neighborhood. And that's what we have to figure out. What is too much, and how do we get the people to and from the field, and what kind of things do we allow? What kind of groups can use the field? There might be age restrictions, noise restrictions, things like that. But these are things that I believe all of our commissioners want to see in an agreement. And I agree with Commissioner Duncan. Why wait till 2028? We should really be talking about this now in 2026, because 2028 is too long to implement this.
Maybe I might just kind of jump in and talk about. So right now, BZA application 17429, which details the conditions of use of the Foxhall Field, has in it the operations plan that was an exhibit to that application, and that operations plan does not allow third-party use. That is why through this process, we have to seek an amendment to that condition number 7 of that existing BZA order. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing now, as Rebecca said, to allow for that continuity of operations, to allow some of those uses that exist now on the backfield on Whitehaven behind the gym, in order to allow some of those third-party uses to use the field now as part of this 2026 application. That is the amendment that we are going to do in this application. I hear the concerns about the agreement. The agreement exists. The 2006 agreement exists. We can't act as if it doesn't. So we need to amend that agreement. That's what we're doing now. And then I think with Commissioner Elkins, I agree with Jaylene. I think that's a great idea, of to the degree that we can get some test cases to make sure that when we do move forward with what we hope to be the final agreement that allows some sort of third-party use there, we will have the experience to show this is how those uses can occur on the Foxhall Field without creating adverse impacts on the immediately adjacent neighbors. So we hear what you're saying. We are working towards that same path, and that's what we hope to do this summer into the early fall.
Okay, but since I haven't spoken on this yet, you're conducting confidential negotiations with the private parties about a public issue. And so, I think that the commissioners feel that this is something that the public should be included in. I mean, is it really necessary for this negotiation to be private between you and these landowners without the participation of anyone representing the commission? Because it's inefficient on the one hand, and on the other, it really leaves a bad taste in the mouth of anyone who's wants to see this done democratically. That's
Chairman
my
Horn, we have 3 hands raised. I think it was Commissioner Simkowitz, then Mr. Elkins, and then Mr. Keenan.
Okay, Commissioner Simkowitz.
Thank you, Chairperson Horn. Mr. Tummins, this is the whole gist of why I think these private agreements are ridiculous. You're talking to people in 2026 about an agreement was made with these unnamed people in 2006 that are holding hostage this field. They may not live here anymore. They may not even be alive today. That's why these private agreements are, in my opinion, idiotic. As Commissioner Elkins said, the final order of the BZA should be the thing that controls. You shouldn't have, as St. Patrick's, your hand tied by people that may not be here anymore and that don't have any thus standing about this issue. So that's the problem. I encourage you not to enter into any further private agreements, and furthermore, I believe that any agreement now, 20 years later, is void against public policy. We have a change in circumstances, a change in traffic patterns, a change in the way people live with the pandemic behind us now. So I think that we should really be focusing on a BZA order, not entering into an agreement with private people.
Commissioner Elkins?
Well, I think I want to distinguish here between whether there's an agreement with a private agreement and whether St. Patrick's is being responsive in a meaningful way to people who are impacted by this field, and takes care of those impacts in a reasonable way. I think a private agreement is not the only way. In fact, it's not the normal way in which an institution would assure that neighbors are well protected from its activities. It would be in a BZA order. And so instead of just amending, and of course, I don't have the order in front of me, I don't have it in front of me, but just hypothetically, instead of amending Section 7 of a previous agreement, instead ask the BZA to take that to essentially take that agreement off the table from the past and essentially build into this BZA order, proposed order by St. Patrick's, the conditions carried over any meaningful and reasonable provisions of that private agreement over into the BZA order, and then addressing this issue about what happens to the field in the interim. I'd propose just a few sample cases, but I'm hearing, I think.
No, I think Commissioner Elkins, maybe I was like, we're doing exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, so
we're doing exactly so that, so we will get this agreement. Then the idea is we will submit it to the BZA and to the ANC on August 31st as part of our 30-day filing. And then, so those would be the new conditions that would guide the use of the Foxhall Field. They would be included in the BZA order. So, Commissioner Elkins, I'm doing exactly what you're talking about.
So there's no
having that agreement inform what the BZA will include as a condition of.
So there will, if I understand you, then there will be no going forward after the BZA order. There will be no another separate piece of paper signed between St. Patrick's and neighbors, as there was in the past. Going forward, there will be a BZA order that incorporates all the appropriate.
No, I think what we need to recognize that order exists, and this is
Yes.
where we're right. I'm sorry, that order exists, but also that agreement exists.
Right.
And so we are getting to the point that, and I think we say we are working with those neighbors, and we just as you said, they have some concerns about impacts, and so we want to be there to help provide as much evidence, ability for them to believe that there will not be adverse impacts on their properties by these uses, and that is our goal. And I think that we share the same goals as the BZA. I'm sorry, the ANC has for additional use of this field. And I would say the neighbors of the Foxhall Field, they also want to increase the use of this field. And so we are hopeful that when the information that we have, we present to the ANC still gets to weigh in on this. We are not boxing the ANC out of weighing in on whatever conditions proposals ultimately are presented to the BZA about the use of this field during construction of the middle school and then thereafter.
Well, I have a clarifying question that just as a follow-up to Chuck. So today, it's Exhibit X of the 2006 BZA order has that operating agreement. There is a separate signed agreement between St. Patrick's and Colony Hill and others. If we get to September 30th and the BZA loosens the restrictions on St. Patrick's on use of the field, does that supersede not only the existing BZA order, but also the current agreement with Colony Hill in 1801?
The BZA can't change the terms of a 2006 agreement, but the BZA absolutely can change the conditions of the use of the field, which is what we're proposing. The BZA isn't a court. It can't change the terms in an agreement between two parties.
Okay, so to be clear, I for myself, and I think for my colleagues too, we have been operating under the assumption that the BZA, if the BZA in a fantastical example, which wouldn't happen, but the BZA in their 2026 order says, you know what, St. Patrick's, you can use the field how you want for whomever you want, put dance parties there every night. It's fine by the BZA, but you would not be able to do that because you are still bound by your agreement with the neighbors. That is this bilateral agreement. So to that end, my point to my colleagues is this all just a moot point? Because regardless of what the BZA says, as long as that agreement is existing, St. Patrick's is bound and can't be any less restrictive than they are today.
Yes, Commissioner Simkowitz.
Mr. Keenan brought up a good point. He said, is this 2006 agreement perpetual? And I believe that this agreement is void against public policy, certainly 20 years after it has been entered into. Do you know who these agreements are with, this agreement? Is it specific individuals or is it a group of people?
I think what we need to, this is an agreement between private entities, right? So I think what we need to do before we say, Commissioner Simkowitz, before we give, it's like, we need to have the other parties' agreement also comfortable that we are giving to this in a public forum like this. So
who are what's the names of these people?
I mean, it's just, I think as Commissioner Royce, it's Colony Hill, the Colony Hill, Neighborhood Association.
And who else?
And then 1801.
So no individual human beings are a party to this agreement?
I'm not sure if those, the previous people who were on that agreement, if they still have ownership interests. I'm not sure.
But are these with the actual groups or with individual people?
Again, Commissioner Simkowitz, once we get the acquiescence from the other parties to this agreement to share it, we can have the individual discussions with you
no,
on
no,
this.
that's not a good answer, because here's the thing. You have a document that you submitted to the governmental entity, the BZA. Am I correct?
No, we didn't.
So it's a side agreement?
No, sorry. What was submitted to the BZA in BZA application 17429 was the operations plan. The operations plan guide, which is now condition 7 of that BZ order, that guides the use of the Foxhall field. So in answer Mr. Keenan's question, it's a perpetual. As long as there is a use of the Foxhall field, the conditions regarding that use are applicable. Those conditions are in BZA order number 17429.
Well, I think you've got some
operations.
work to do, because I'm not going to vote for this thing as long as this agreement is standing. Period. I don't care what it is. I don't care what you're asking for. It's not going to happen.
Nick Keenan, you've been had your hand up quite a while.
Thank you, Commissioner Horn. I just wanted to touch on something that Commissioner Simkowitz talked about earlier. And at the last ANC meeting, there was somebody who wanted to testify anonymously. And Commissioner Simkowitz at that meeting said, no, if you're going to come before the ANC, you have to turn your camera on. That's our rule, and you cannot be anonymous. Nobody has come before the ANC in support of this existing agreement or in support of the existing regime on the field on Foxhall Road. And you know, that's not how democracy is supposed to work. This idea that there is a secret agreement that we're not allowed to see is preposterous. And you know, I can't believe that that's even being introduced as a pretense in this discussion. And you know, this idea that, well, something's going to be negotiated and then shown to the ANC. No, the ANC needs to be a party to the negotiations. This is a matter of public interest. Thank you.
Commissioner Elkins?
I just want to come back and separate these two issues. Obviously, there's some differences of opinion about this agreement, but I would hope there would not be some disagreement among everyone, the neighbors and everyone, about the fact that as we come forward to 2028, we need some experience as opposed to just hypotheticals on which we can make reasonable decisions about the use of this field. So when we come forward in 2028, we should all have had experience during 2027 and 2028 on a continuing dialogue basis of what happens when MacArthur High School comes over and has a game. What really happened there? Were there controls that were not effective on the parking, whatever the issues are, so that we're basing decisions in 2028 on experience and on the ability of St. Patrick's to respond to a problem that maybe wasn't fully controlled but could be controlled. That just, it seems to me, makes a lot of sense in terms of getting a really agreeable solution long term with regard to the use of this field by other schools as appropriate. And so I would just urge that, putting aside the issue of agreements or whatever and focusing on substance, that we not go into 2028 blind and just simply having some of the teams from St. Patrick's play there more than otherwise doesn't really, that doesn't really, if I understand it, doesn't really substitute for the experience that I'm suggesting that we need in 2028.
Okay. I think we've had yes.
I have one final thing. I'd like to consider sending this to the Attorney General's office for a determination by that office whether this private agreement is void against public policy. I think that you know, this was never intended to prevent a change in use of this field, which you know might be justified or warranted now with more people living in the area. We might want to consider that moving forward.
I think it makes sense to consult with them. Are there any other comments at this point? We've had a robust discussion, and I thank everyone who has participated. Yes, Commissioner Duncan?
Just one last thought, what Mr. Tummins had said, what the ANC gets to weigh in on this. Like, it is very likely that we'll be testifying and we're automatically a party to this BZA hearing and this, the decision. So we will be able to give our own testimony in front of the BZA. And I think Commissioner Simcoe's idea of getting some advice from the Attorney General's office would be helpful.
Very good. All right, why don't we close this out and move to the other discussion, which is 4584 Indian Rock Terrace, a raise application. And I believe this is Commissioner Nowak.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Horn. So the issue that has been brought forward to me by constituents is that currently on this lot at 4584 Indian Rock is a single family home on a half an acre of land. In the real estate listing, the owner, real estate broker, whichever, indicated that the lot could fit 3 homes. And the neighbors have raised some concerns about density as well as construction management issues. So we wanted to give them an opportunity to speak on this topic. I think that from the research that I've done, the ANC we don't have any reason to block the raise permit at this juncture, but we may have some opportunities as building plans are submitted, that certainly we'd have some opportunities there to make sure that setbacks are appropriate and percentage of lot occupancy, things like that can be closely managed for proper compliance. So I don't know if any of our neighbors from Indian Rock are on the call today, but if they are, I wanted to give them an opportunity to speak.
If you want to speak, if you can raise your hand or press the button to get a yellow hand on your picture. Commissioner Duncan?
I just want to reiterate to the commission that I have not found a reason for the ANC to oppose a raise permit without a historic designation. This is a very large lot. In R1B zone, your lot width needs to be 50 feet. And then you have to have all the setbacks. So it was hard for me to tell from the zoning maps. If you could fit 3 houses across, I think you might be able to, but so it might be one of those things where they have a house and then they have a house in front with the, I think it's called like a lollipop configuration where the house goes in the back.
Yeah.
I am not 100% sure how those are allowed. And maybe that's something, Chairman Horn, you and I could look into on how that is because they're going to have to get the parcel split. So I need to look into the process for that. And it might be that you could tell whoever makes that decision that it's just going to be too crowded and you don't like it. So I don't know, but if that's the way that third house is built, like behind the other one, yeah.
Is it, Commissioner Duncan, it's 50 feet per home, is that correct? Of street frontage?
The lot has to have 50 feet of street frontage.
I like you, I don't know it exactly. I haven't measured. I'd be shocked if there's 150 feet of front footage. So I think they would have to do some pipe stemming to get a back house on there. And then again, it just becomes a question of what is the allowable percentage? Is it 40% or something like that? That the total improvements can't be more than 40% of the build out, I think.
The building itself, your home, can be 40% of the lot, and that would include a back house or an ADU, as they're called, an ancillary dwelling unit. And then you can only have 10% more of impervious surface. But we have seen massive amounts of land covered as long as they're capturing all the stormwater. So if you have a system for your driveway that's absorbing all the stormwater, then you can cover way more than that. But the dwellings itself is 40%.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
All right, well, we will definitely look into, what we can object to, where we can insert ourselves in the process. Is there anyone else wants to speak on this? All right, let's move on to let's do the heritage tree, because Commissioner Colin Roosevelt was hoping to be here.
I'm here now.
He has arrived.
He's here.
I can still do the heritage tree first.
Oh, I see. Okay, well then let's go right there. Let's go to the front lot setback discussion. Commissioner Duncan?
I'm going to make a motion. The motion on the floor is for ANC3D to join the neighbors on Tilden Street in their appeal to the BZA, to the building permit at 4823 Tilden Street. Do I have a second? Commissioner Nowak seconds the motion. When I sent this sort of brief out to the commissioners, I gave us several options. So if someone wants to make an amendment, or depending on how this conversation goes, we may end up maybe going to the zoning commission or asking the Office of Planning for a ruling on this. I think that what's happening here is that a lot of these neighborhoods, particularly in Spring Valley, but this is also happening in Palisades, there'll be a corner lot that is sort of non-conforming. Doesn't really fit R1B. It's smaller than the 5,000 square feet. And the home at the corner is very, very close to the lot line. But every other house is farther back, and not every street has a no build line. So what's happening is that a house is being raised and a new house is being built. So someone's house now is 15 feet closer to the street than all of the other houses. And it's really jarring for the neighbors who live there to have these homes so close to the street compared to their own homes. And it is changing the look of a lot of streets because the homes are moving closer and closer to the street. The problem with going to the BZA, in my opinion, is that the Department of Buildings has been allowing this for 20 years now. It's happened again and again. We saw this at 5510 Sherrier. We asked the Department of Buildings to look at this thing, when you have a non-conforming house, setting the lot, how far off the lot line, is that allowed? And they basically are following the zoning regulation to the letter of the law that says, if there's a house this close to the street on this block, any house can be that close. When it clearly wasn't the intent when the neighborhoods were being built. My hesitation with joining in this appeal is that the BZA might laugh us out of the room. Although it's a new BZA, so we don't know. It's a new chairman. It's a lot of new members. Joining the neighbor who is on this call, I hope he has a chance to speak. He, I think, might be resigned to this home being built next to their home, but I did look at the zoning maps. There are enough places in all of our neighborhoods here that could benefit from a ruling from someone. So I'm going to stop talking. If anyone has any questions, suggestions, worries, I'm all ears.
Commissioner Elkins?
Well, I think it does make sense to go forward into the BCA in support of the neighbor, but making it clear to the BCA that we realize we're going against a history in which these have been approved, but we're saying that we think that um, this needs to be changed and that it's not really consistent with the intent as we read it of the rules of the regulations based on the paper, at least that you developed in preparation for this meeting. So um, I think that makes it clear that we're not just walking into the BZA and assuming that they don't know what they're doing and that they don't know what the history has been. But we're basically asking them to change course. Um, if that fails, or even simultaneously with that, I think based on the fact that there are so many cases that could be um, future situations like this, and these neighborhoods, street by street, begin to lose their setbacks that make so much difference in how the whole neighborhood looks, that we ought to go forward and ask for a clarification or an amendment to the regulations to do that through the Office of Planning and ultimately the Zoning Commission. It's not just, from what you're saying, it's not just this one instance. This is just one of the beginning, not the first, but one of the beginning cases, and there are a lot more dominoes to fall. And even if we are unsuccessful at the BZA, we should not assume that's the end of the game. It's just wrong. I mean, it's certainly in my neighborhood of Wesley Heights, one of the biggest things that make the neighborhood so beautiful is the setback. And because of that, in 1999, the neighborhood came together and got a actual zoning change, overlay that absolutely freezes those setbacks in a way that's even more stringent than the rest of the city. And it's because we recognized, no, I didn't do it, I was a resident, but my predecessors recognized that the setback is one of the things that makes Wesley Heights so beautiful. And I think that's true of Spring Valley as well.
Commissioner Nowak?
I have a question about sidewalks. Commissioner Duncan, your favorite topic. As the city has made a commitment to continue to add sidewalks to neighborhoods that don't already have them, and if I'm understanding this issue properly, we are potentially closing off blocks to sidewalks if you have a corner house that's very close to the street line, because it moves that setback line up.
No, because the lot lines are always 20 feet from the curb. So these houses are actually really far back. So there's still a lot of the streets that I'm talking about already have a sidewalk. So the houses are very, very close to the sidewalk.
Okay.
But I will say on streets that don't have a sidewalk, as the houses get closer, then you get more resistance to sidewalks because the sidewalk appears right in front of your house.
Okay.
So there is a little bit of that too.
I think it's not just Department of Buildings question, but it's potentially a DDOT question as well. Does this prevent us from putting in sidewalks in the future? Number one, and we could bring in potentially I don't know whatever department is with environment. Does it cause stormwater issues if we have houses that are that close to the street that there's just no place for the rain to go, whereas that would be provided with a larger front lot area?
Commissioner Cologne Roosevelt?
Yeah, I think we should join this on the side of the neighbors. I think if anything, that'll just help us get more clarification. I guess my only question at this point is whether, or should we address this to the BZA and the Office of Planning and DOB, or what would be the best way to actually, maybe OAG, I have no idea, but it seems like there's precedent, but it's not been like delineated. And so I'm just wondering who we should actually send this to.
So I think that joining in the appeal for this specific building permit under the purpose of asking this question for the BZA to clarify, I think simultaneously, and I'll take this as a friendly amendment, we write a letter to OP asking them what they think. And Mr. Chairman, can I unmute the neighbor? He is out of town and is dialing in by phone, and I'm sure he's chomping at the bit to talk.
Yes,
Would you mind if
very
I did
good.
that?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it letting me unmute
I
him?
think if he's on the phone, if he hits *6, it may work.
*6, Frank. Mr. Moore, Frank Moore.
Hey,
There
hey,
you
can you hear me?
We can hear you. Welcome.
Okay, okay, thank you very much. Yeah, well, I appreciate the conversation, and I appreciate the commission considering this. Everything that I've heard said is certainly what Commissioner Elkins spoke to in terms of the scale and character of these neighborhoods. I certainly agree with. And I might add, even though, you know, this is a building permit that I'm challenging, I've got the neighborhood is behind this as well. It's not just me. And even though the house is next door to me, it affects everybody on the block, but also others who, you know, use or just a block or two away. We had 70 neighbors in the neighborhood write a letter, join my letter to the developer asking him to reconsider his setback. And he did not respond, but I did speak to him, to be fair, and he's unwilling to do that. But this is a neighborhood issue. We've already had tear downs and rebuilds that use this same setback strategy. I happen to think that the interpretation of the rules holistically are just an error. And that surely the zoning code and the zoning commission, when it adopted these provisions, if they were adopted in 2016 during the last rewrite of the zoning regs, I just have a hard time believing that they intended to allow any nonconformity to extend into other areas of the neighborhood or other lots on the same block. You know, and the other thing I'll say, and then I'll if there are any questions, I'm happy to respond in terms of what I know as a neighbor. But, you know, the dimensional requirements that our zoning code has for residential zone really speak to the character of the neighborhood. In fact, that's the intended state. There's a statement that states that the intention and purpose of the zoning regs for residential zones is to preserve and protect the scale and character of the neighborhoods. And we have these dimensional requirements: setback, height, lot occupancy. I happen to think there ought to be a floor area ratio. But, you know, and I guess the other observation I'll make, while these regs have been in place since 2016, you know, it's only probably in the last 4 or 5 that we've had this wave of just huge mansionization. This is not just somebody bumping out a little vestibule from the normal lot line setback, or the what I would refer to as a streetscape. These are huge bump outs of huge houses, and I'll just conclude with the document that you all have that sort of creates a rationale for the appeal does go into detail in terms of the logic of the appeal and the zoning codes that are in play, the provisions. But, you know, neighbor after neighbor, when I talk to them, and not only in my neighborhood, but in neighborhoods that also have this phenomena, the common sort of response is, I can't believe they can do that. You know, I thought we had zoning codes that prevent this. And I think that, you know, truly my gut, not only my analysis of the provisions, but my gut tells me I don't think the zoning commission ever intended these nonconformities to be used to determine a new setback. And in Spring Valley, I might just add, it was one of the early planned communities in Northwest Washington. And this is a 75-year-old streetscape. 75 years. All these houses are lined up in a row except for this one corner lot, whose lot is oriented towards 48th Street and not on Tilden. I'll leave it at that, and I'm happy to answer the questions. I do want to just again reiterate, I truly appreciate the commission looking at this and considering this. Acknowledge that it certainly goes beyond Spring Valley as a threat for the front setback creep that a lot of neighborhoods are witnessing.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Commissioner Colon Roosevelt.
He may have had his hand raised from before.
Sorry, my hand was still up. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I got it. I gotcha.
Commissioner Elkins.
Did I understand the neighbor to say that that this particular corner house, which is being used as the measurement, is actually facing another street, or not?
No, Commissioner Elkin, no, it's not. I was saying that the lot itself is oriented towards the perpendicular street, and that in part explains why the house is non-conforming. It's right on the lot line, and yet it's unable to meet the rear yard setback. There's no way today, in other words, that house could be built facing Tilden Street. That's why it's non-conforming.
It's a wide house on a wide lot, but if you look at the zoning maps, it looks like it should be a skinny house facing the other street. It's a weird lot.
Well, I think in our letter to or defense of this in front of the BZA, I think that point needs to be made clear. I think we see that in other neighborhoods. I had that in my neighborhood where clearly the neighbor cheated by claiming that the front of his house was someplace else, but in fact, and therefore he could build real close to the street on the side, but then he turned the side into a front door. So I think there are people who cheat, who take advantage of the weakness of these interpretations. So I think this is well worth defending. And even if we lose at the BZA, we may get some statements from the BZA essentially suggesting that if we want to make this change, we need to go to the zoning commission, which would be supportive of us then to do so. I mean, to continue our discussion with OP, because to go to the zoning commission, we actually have to go through OP, as I understand it anyway.
When is the BZA here? Oh, you haven't filed an appeal yet. You have until July 16th. Is that correct, Frank?
July 22nd. The building permit, if I recall correctly, it was issued May 22nd, and so 60 days from the permit issuance. So it's July 22nd. It's when we have as a deadline to file an appeal.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call the question, Chairman Horn.
All right. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none. All in favor?
Yeah, I'd like to reiterate the motion if I could for the minute. Motion on the floor is that we join in an appeal of this specific building permit to call into question the practice of these non-conforming lots becoming the new lot line. And in addition, we will send an inquiry letter to the Office of Planning asking for guidance or advice or clarification.
Could I friendly amendment to that?
Go ahead.
And suggesting that perhaps a amendment to the regulation to clarify it in our favor by the zoning commission. In other words, I think we should do more than just ask OP for an opinion because then they just give an opinion and that's the end of it. I think we should give the suggestion we're asking their opinion and with the thought that we may want to file an amendment uh, with the OP to take to the zoning commission.
Okay, friendly amendment accepted.
I
Like
don't
it.
think it was appropriate consideration.
All right, anything else before we vote? All right, all in favor of this motion? 7 in favor, it's unanimous. Let's move on to letter to the Department of Buildings regarding the heritage tree. Commissioner Duncan.
Motion on the floor is to send a letter to Director Hanlon asking him the status of the consequences for destroying this tree. Do I have a second?
I second.
Commissioner Horn seconds the motion. This is something that I'm never going to let go until I get an answer of what is happening. So I'd like to send this letter because I feel like they will have to respond if we send a letter that was voted on by the ANC.
I agree. Is there any other discussion? All in favor of sending this letter?
Just a question. Sorry, I don't have the letter up in front of me. Are we asking for any action beyond a response?
So the last we heard from Urban Forestry is that they had issued their fine and then they transmitted under the section over to the Department of Buildings all of their evidence. They did talk to the neighbors, they took their photographs, like the whole bit. And Urban Forestry a few weeks ago said there was like some Zooms going back and forth about it. We've heard nothing. I have sent emails. I've had Fruman make some inquiries, and this is just saying like, is there going to be any action? And if there's not going to be any action, could you at least explain why?
I guess my question is, are we also proactively asking that if one has not already been issued, that a building permit not be issued to this homeowner, developer, whomever is deemed responsible for this? Or that if there is a building permit, that it be rescinded on this basis?
So there is a stop work order on the site, but not because of the tree. They excavated so much and there's no shoring. This is how people die. So they shut it down. What they can do, one of the action items they can do is rescind that building permit and then not give them another one. But I was also reminded that the Department of Buildings wants them to remediate that site. So the Department of Buildings has asked them for their shoring up plans. So they could give them a permit for the shoring to make the site stable and then rescind the permit. But maybe they don't want to rescind the permit right away because if they do, the builder's just going to walk
Then
away from the site. They won't do anything.
Similarly,
but I would just like someone to tell me what's going on.
And similarly, because we've had topics like this before in other contexts, maybe we want to decouple the request for information as the first letter, as you've offered, and then the request to rescind as a second separate vote and letter later. Because if we put them in one letter, they might give us the answer and not rescind. Because it's like, oh, we gave you one of the two things you asked for. And that's enough. So maybe we do just stick with the tell us the status, tell us the process, what's happening, and then next month or next time we meet, we perhaps can vote saying we strongly oppose a building permit being issued in this case.
Right now, the letter is give us a status update.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Elkins.
I just want to clarify, I think our last letter said, and it did not suggest that the permit be rescinded, because I strongly urge that it not include that. And I want to just make sure everybody understands why I think that is a major mistake to ask that this permit be rescinded. And unfortunately, that's one of the requests from the urban forestry people. If you rescind this permit, what does that really mean? It means there's a half-built house sitting in the middle of the neighborhood. Nobody's going to like that. And so what is DOB going to do? They're going to issue another permit and somebody's going to finish this building. So rescinding the permit is really an easy way for DOB to pretend they're being tough, but actually they're not doing diddly squat. What we asked them to do is to keep this builder from ever building anything for the next 3 years. That's under the statute. That's what we've asked for. And his permit to be a contractor for 2 years. So I would just urge this commission not to get behind the idea of rescinding this permit. We'll be sorry for that.
I think you're right, Mr. Elkins, in the sense that by definition, if the builder is enjoined, then they don't get the permit for this. But to only lose the permit and not get that injunction would be a significant loss for us.
I think some of us know the Department of Buildings well enough to know that they would love to just rescind the permit and then issue a new one.
And move on. Yeah.
Never do anything else because they are a paper tiger when it comes to enforcement, and I'm a well-known critic of theirs.
Okay, so can we vote on the letter? Okay, all in favor of the letter? That's seven in favor. Right, is that, I'm sorry, yes, okay. Let's move to the MacArthur Wine and Spirits. Commissioner Nowak, what would you like us to do?
So, commissioners, I will remind you that last month we had an extensive discussion with the applicant to open a liquor store at the bottom of MacArthur where it meets Foxhall Road. Much of what we discussed last week was around the name of that liquor store, which had some variation on MacArthur beverages, MacArthur Wines and Spirits. It was seen as confusing to Addie Basson's, which is also MacArthur Wine and Spirits. Commissioner Horn has heard from the applicant that they have changed their names and I guess are waiting on confirmation of that. Commissioner Horn, I don't want to speak for you and what the applicant has represented to you.
They just said they were going to change their name.
Yeah. So I think there were set aside the name for 1 minute. There's a second thing that we like to do as a commission, and that is a settlement agreement. We have one drafted that I'll share with the applicant upon the approval of this body. And so therefore the motion on the floor is that that you give me and Commissioner Horn the authority to negotiate on behalf of the commission to finalize the settlement agreement with this applicant. And number two, that we would only approve, submit our support of this application with ABCA upon confirmation of the name change. So if those two conditions are met, then the third thing is that we would submit a letter of support to ABCA relative to this business opening up. They are on the hearing schedule for July 16th, so we don't have the opportunity to come back again to do this after those items are completed. Commissioner Elkins?
Well, I guess my main opposition to this was not the name, although that was very disturbing, but was the traffic situation.
Yeah.
They're going to have a very active, they said, a very active order, and we'll ship it out to you sort of process. They're going to have people coming there and wanting to park illegally, probably, in front of the store and run in. I think it's a horrible place for that kind of operation to be in that block just before Foxhall Road. So I guess I would be in favor of a resolution that opposes the operation of such a liquor store at that location. That doesn't mean you can't have other kinds of stores there, but a liquor store that's going to have that much active traffic seems to me just the kind of thing that we should oppose.
Thank you for that that viewpoint. And I have to admit that is where I started on this issue. that the location was certainly less than ideal. I have come to change my opinion because there is already a restaurant next to this space, this retail space that the applicant would like to put their business. They're a restaurant that does both eat in and delivery. So they also have DoorDash and such delivery agents coming to their doors and have customers who park. There is ample parking on MacArthur Boulevard, obviously outside of the red zone time. So if somebody wants to go to the liquor store at 8 a.m., that's going to be problematic. But my concern would be that on behalf of the landlord, that if we are going to be so restrictive with what types of businesses can go into that space, a dentist office would be ideal. But again, a dentist office is going to have patients who need to park. So whatever type of business that wants to go into that space is going to have the same sort of challenges.
I hear you, but I think I would argue that the kind of traffic that a liquor store gets is a different kind of parking than the kind that you get for a restaurant. And our experience in Wesley Heights is the Starbucks at 3301 New Mexico, in which there's a no parking zone and people run into the Starbucks all the time. And there's absolutely no way to stop it. And it blocks traffic because of the way in which the bicycle lane, et cetera. I won't go through all that. It just seems to me of all the issues that this commission should be focused on, besides noise and selling to minors, et cetera, at a liquor store, is the traffic. And this store in particular was making a big deal about how they were going to have DoorDash or whoever delivering their liquor, and I just think we're asking for some trouble. And I don't think the restaurant has the same kind of parking right there in front of the restaurant. People don't park in front of the restaurant, that restaurant or that spot, and go in. It's illegal to park there, isn't it? So they're parking on MacArthur Boulevard, which is perfectly fine to park on MacArthur Boulevard back where there are parking spaces. What I'm talking about is parking where there's no parking space. Right in front of the or in that little alley or street, it's a street, which the neighbors came to us and said, please don't have them have people stop there. So I feel as if we're not responding. Well, we don't have to respond, but we could respond to the neighbors' concerns here and oppose this liquor store.
Commissioner Duncan?
So my worry is that those arguments will fall on deaf ears on the ABCA board members, and they approve it anyway.
True, they could.
So
and
we either get a settlement agreement.
We don't have a settlement agreement, right? Right.
And I point out that this particular space used to be a liquor store, right?
It was indeed.
So APCA is liable to think, well, we approved this space as a liquor store before, so we can't very well say it's inappropriate now. I mean, I don't want a liquor store there, but I think maybe we need a settlement agreement rather than running our heads against a brick wall at ABCA.
So what do we hope to gain in the settlement agreement besides I hope we're going to have the provision that had to do with they were not going to let people under X age into the greater than teenage years.
Sure. So the settlement agreement is much like those that we have with restaurants and the one we have with Green Theory that talks about certainly no service to minors and things that they should put in place to discourage or make it difficult to service minors, but also management of trash, management of delivery trucks. Like we make it incumbent upon them to manage their delivery drivers and that they're parking lawfully. And I think that if we can get that settlement agreement in place, then we have an enforcement mechanism. If 6 months from now the neighbors come to us and say we're being blocked in our alley, we have a settlement agreement now to go back to say that, on July 1st, you promised that you would not allow your drivers to park there, and you're out of compliance with the agreement. So
I guess I thought the most important item was the one I think they agreed to, that was because there's a high school nearby, that they would not simply not sell to minors, that they would not allow minors to enter.
So
teenagers, but like kids, I don't know. I mean, if someone's there with their 4-year-old, they're coming in.
The language that I would propose for that, and I think it's in the draft of the settlement agreement, is that minors have to be accompanied by a parent or a guardian. So that if you come in on your way home from, daycare pickup and you've got your 4-year-old with you and you want to buy a bottle of wine, you can. But if you were 21 and you want to bring your 18-year-old buddy in with you, you cannot do so.
I think
That's
that would be appropriate given the high school.
Yeah. Commissioner Colin Roosevelt, did you have something to add?
I was just going to say that I also have concerns about setting an arbitrary age limit. So I think what you're proposing, Commissioner Nowak, is good, but I don't think we should be saying something like, if you're under 16, you have to wait outside when your parent is there.
Yeah.
All right. Anything further? So all in favor of the motion? Aye. Okay, it's 7. It's unanimous.
Okay, I will work on that settlement agreement, and once it's complete, I'll send it back to the commission, just to see if you want any red lines before we finalize.
Very good. The next thing is the vote on the Go Vocal Tech and ANC Administrator, Commissioner Duncan.
Motion on the floor is to enter into a contract with Brayton Keenan, who is here on this call, for 2 positions. One is for the Go Vocal technical and research help, and the other is for ANC3D admin. Do I have a second? Commissioner Simpson. Yeah, thanks. Okay, so very quickly, because I'm looking at the time. For the admin, this is already in our budget. It's $30 an hour. There will be some extra hours, I'm sure, for onboarding and learning all of our systems. For the tech, for the Go Vocal work, I did a little spreadsheet. The way the contract is written is that it is capped at 150 hours, which I think is a lot and will carry us a long way, for $30 an hour. So that would be an expense we're approving for $4,500. And also, we would like to get the ANC person who does this a Claude account, which is about $20 a month plus tax. And you pay that an annual fee, so that would be $250. So the total cost that we would be approving that is not in our budget is $4,750.
Question or suggestion? Totally fine with the money. On the contract, might I suggest that we put in place a global contract with Mr. Keenan and then do exhibits or work orders for these various tasks, such that if we decide as commission we want to extend him for any period of time, whether it's number of hours or months or whatever, that we can just do that via a work order and not a whole new contract.
I like that. Right now, there's 2 separate contracts. There's the contract for the admin, because that's long-term. And then this other one is separate and capped at the hours, but I would be willing to rework that to make our lives easier if we want to extend.
I think future us will be happy if we can do it that way.
I would take that as a friendly amendment.
Any other discussion? Okay.
Could we make it the current items in front of us basically allow him to begin work today? can we make it explicit that with this change of the form of the contract, but not the substance of the contract, that it also goes into effect today?
Friendly amendment, yes.
Very good. Anything further? All right, all in favor of this motion? 7 in favor. That's unanimous.
Welcome, Brayton Keenan.
Treasurer's report, Commissioner Elkins.
Yes, can you see my, whoops, no, that's not right. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to
You
share
can
my,
see your screen, just the wrong one.
I don't know. Let me see if this works. Can you see my treasurer's report or not?
We cannot.
Okay,
We're
sorry.
seeing your Explorer window.
Yeah, sorry. Now, can you see it or not? I don't know.
We can.
Yes, now we can. Yes, we can.
Okay. So this is the Treasurer's report for this month. You'll see we had some normal expenditure. Well, that's April. I don't know. I'm showing you the wrong. That's the wrong one. I'm sorry. I thought I was prepared. I'm not. I'm going to report that the treasurer's report, which I'm sharing with you hypothetically, or without the visual support, shows only a couple of expenditures this month. One for Catherine and one for our transcriber. There's no need for the commission to approve that. Now I do need to show you something that you need to see, which is not showing. Just a minute. It is the QCR.
So while Mr. Elkins is looking for that, a reminder, the QFR, the quarterly financial report, we're finishing up Q3 of fiscal year 26, I guess. And this is submitted quarterly in order to secure our allocation from the district.
Now are you seeing the quarterly report?
Now we can see it.
Okay, good. Thank you. Because I know we're against time. You'll see that we had communications expenditure of $2,100 for Go Vocal. We had several expenditures for Catherine and for one for transcriber. And so, and we had $1.13 we earned in savings. And here's the detail here. And as you look at that, Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the third quarter fiscal year 26 QCR for submission to OANC.
I second that motion. Does anyone have a question? Let me call the question. All in favor of this quarterly?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous, 7 votes. Let's move to approval of the minutes.
I don't have them handy to put up, but if we could please approve the minutes for the June meeting. Those were distributed to commissioners a few weeks back and need to be submitted along with Mr. Elkins' report to the OANC. They're still open, so if anybody has any red lines that they haven't gotten to me, feel free. Okay. Can I have a second?
I second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes? 7 in favor. The notice of the next meeting, it's right now, it's September 2nd. So we're officially not having an August meeting unless we need to, and we'll call a special meeting in that case. But it's September 2nd, this time at 7 o'clock. Is there anything further before we adjourn?
8 o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
Well done,
It's
Mr.
8 o'clock.
Chairman.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, and have a good summer.